Let's talk about identity. If I asked you, who are you? And who gets to decide who you are? Typically, someone in 2015, 2016 would say, I get to decide who I am. If I look back in time to the 1960s, 1970s, an age where people had consciousness-raising sessions and left their husbands and their children to find themselves because they were partaking of this new idea of self-authorship, that who I am is basically up to me. This is a very 20th, 21st century idea, and probably it's confined to the developed world. Probably if you talk to a young girl in rural Afghanistan, she would look at you like she didn't know what you were talking about. She doesn't get to decide who she is. Her identity, and the identity of people in Shakespeare's England, was socially constructed. So their social role was who they were. It wasn't something deep within or something that they got to invent out of their heads. It was who their parents were, what their gender was, and so on. In the West, in 2015-16, I have students coming into my office and saying, yes, I am listed on the roster as John, but I am transitioning to a female identity, so please call me Jane. And this option was not available to earlier generations. And I bring all this up because Taming of the Shrew is a play that's very interested in identity. So in the framing device, you have Christopher Sly, who knows exactly who he is. He's a tinker, he's a working class individual, he has nothing to do with aristocrats, undergo a practical joke, and people tell him that he is a lord, and they dress him like he is a lord, and they entertain him and feed him as if he is a lord, and they present him with his wife, and they tell him how to talk to her, because different classes have different language, and the language is part of what makes up your identity. And even though Sly argues at the beginning, he recognizes a better deal when he meets it, and so he grasps this new identity that they are presenting him with as a practical joke. Well, the framing device with Christopher Sly brings us to the main play about the taming of the shrew, and this is what really happens to Catherine. Now, from our 21st century point of view, we might say, well, I know who Catherine is. She is a lively, willful, intelligent, energetic woman. She is herself. But no, in the Elizabethan era, what she is a daughter, and a bad daughter. What she is potentially a wife, and potentially a bad wife. Because the rules for women, the definition of a woman, the ideal for a woman, 3 words, okay? Chaste, silent, obedient. Now, there's nothing at all wrong with Catherine's chastity. She's fought off people ever since the play began, but she's not silent, she's not obedient. And so what Petruchio does is a version of the identity trick that's played in the framing device. What he does is insist, you are so gracious. You are so beautiful. You are so good. We've agreed together so well that on Sunday is the wedding day. And he just stops his ears to any evidence that she is not smooth, silent, easy to get along with, a soft wife kind of person, just as the people in the framing device do. Eventually, through the course of the play, Catherine recognizes that everyone else in the play is bad-mouthing her. Everyone else is insulting her. Everyone else is fighting her. Petruchio is the one who sees value in her. So eventually, according to the traditional interpretation of the play, Catherine recognizes a good idea when she sees it and grasps her new identity and performs that to the hilt. So at the end of the play, you still see a Catherine that is tormenting her sister and arguing for her own point of view. But she has found a framework to do that in that makes her the pride of her husband, the admiration of her father. And so we see Catherine's new self-constructed identity as something that Petruchio gives her a way to embrace and own.